There comes a moment in every life where you wake up and you don't know what direction you're running in anymore. You're moving, you're busy, you're doing something. But deep down, you feel lost. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Being lost doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've reached a point where the old version of you no longer fits. Kobe Bryant once said that confusion is part of the process, not the end of it. The process. See, people love to talk about confidence. They love to talk about dominance. They love to talk about greatness like it's something you wake up with. But nobody talks about the days where you don't recognize yourself anymore. The days where motivation doesn't hit. The days where the dream feels heavy instead of exciting. Kobe had those days too. Not when the lights were on, not when the crowd was cheering, but early in the morning, when the gym was empty, when nobody was watching. Because being lost doesn't happen on the court. It happens in your mind. And when you're lost, the most dangerous thing you can do is pretend you're not. Most people run from that feeling. They distract themselves. They scroll. They numb. They wait for motivation to come save them. But Kobe never waited. He understood something most people miss. Clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity comes from action. You don't find yourself by thinking. You find yourself by doing. That's why when Kobe felt lost, he didn't look for answers in words. He looked for answers in repetition. One more rep, one more drill, one more shot. Not because it felt good, but because it created structure when his mind felt chaotic. See, when you feel lost, what you're really missing isn't motivation, it's direction. And direction doesn't come from inspiration, it comes from commitment. Kobe didn't ask himself, "Do I feel like it today?" He asked, "What does the work require?" Because feelings change, standards don't. When you feel lost, your mind will lie to you. It will tell you that you need to wait, that you need to feel ready, that you need to figure everything out first. That's a trap. Kobe believed in moving toward the fog, not away from it. Because discipline is what gives shape to uncertainty. You don't need your whole life figured out. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need confidence. You need one decision, to show up with intention, even when you feel empty. That's how Kobe rebuilt himself again and again. Injuries, failures, losses, doubt. Every time life stripped something away from him, he didn't panic. He went back to the basics. Footwork, conditioning, film, details. Because when everything feels uncertain, details give you control, and control brings you back to yourself. If you're feeling lost right now, it doesn't mean you're off track. It means you're being called to a higher standard. But that standard won't announce itself. You have to meet it. Here's the part nobody likes to hear when they feel lost. At some point, it's not confusion anymore. It's avoidance. Because being lost can turn into a comfortable excuse if you let it. You start saying things like, "I just need more time. I'm figuring things out. I'm waiting for the right moment." But deep down, you know the truth. You're not waiting for clarity. You're avoiding responsibility. Kobe didn't believe in that. He believed that when your life feels unclear, the problem isn't the world, it's your standards. Because standards don't disappear when you feel lost. They get exposed. When Kobe was struggling, he didn't look around for sympathy. He looked inward for discipline. He asked himself hard questions most people avoid. Did I prepare enough? Did I waste time yesterday? Did I let comfort win? And if the answer was yes, he didn't get emotional about it. He corrected it. That's the difference. Most people feel bad about where they are but refuse to do the things that would change it. They want confidence without repetition, direction without sacrifice, results without discomfort. That's not how it works. When you feel lost, your ego wants reassurance. But growth requires honesty. Kobe used to say that the work doesn't care how you feel. The work only responds to what you do. And when you don't do the work, the results don't come. Simple, brutal, honest. That's why he didn't negotiate with his excuses. Not tired, not uninspired, not afraid, just work. Because every time you choose discipline over comfort, you send a signal to yourself, I'm still in control. And control is the first thing you lose when you feel lost. You don't regain it all at once. You rebuild it piece by piece. Early mornings, late nights, doing the basics when nobody's watching. Not to impress anyone, not to post it online, but to remind yourself who you are. Because identity isn't something you find. It's something you earn, daily. Kobe understood that greatness isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. Anyone can go hard when they're motivated. Few can stay disciplined when they're confused. And that's where separation happens. When you feel lost, you're standing at a fork in the road. One path says, take it easy. You've been through a lot. The other says, raise your standard. This is where you're forged. Kobe always chose the second path. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. He knew that the pain of discipline was temporary. The pain of regret lasts forever. So if you're lost right now, don't ask yourself what's missing. Ask yourself what you've been avoiding. Because the moment you stop running from the work, the fog starts to clear. Not all at once, but enough to take the next step. And that's all you need. Kobe believed something most people misunderstand. Discipline isn't about being extreme. It's about being consistent when nobody is forcing you. That's why he didn't rely on motivation. Motivation fades. Routine doesn't. When your life feels out of control, the fastest way back is structure. Kobe built his life around structure. Same wake-up time, same preparation, same attention to detail. Not because he had to, but because routine removes decision fatigue. When everything is already decided, there's nothing left to negotiate. No debate, no excuses, just execution. That's how you win days. Not by waiting for big breakthroughs, but by stacking small, deliberate wins. One workout, one film session, one focused hour. Kobe didn't chase balance. He chased alignment. If basketball was the priority, everything else adjusted around it. Sleep, social life, distractions. Not eliminated, controlled. Because obsession, when guided, isn't unhealthy. It's necessary. You don't become elite by being casual. You don't find your path by drifting. You find it by committing so deeply that the noise disappears. That's why Kobe talked about falling in love with the process. Not the applause, not the trophies, the grind. Because the grind is honest. It gives back exactly what you put in. No shortcuts, no discounts. When you feel lost, your days are usually unstructured. You wake up reacting instead of attacking. You let other people's priorities decide your time. Kobe refused to live like that. He owned his mornings. Because mornings set the tone for everything that follows. If you win the morning, you control the day. And when you control enough days, you rebuild momentum. Momentum doesn't come from thinking, it comes from movement. Even on days he felt off, Kobe showed up. Not at full intensity, but with full commitment. And that's the key. You don't need to feel great to execute. You just need to show up honestly. Some days are about pushing limits. Some days are about maintaining standards. Both matter. Because consistency beats intensity every single time. That's how Kobe separated himself. While others waited for confidence, he created it through repetition. While others needed inspiration, he relied on habits. And habits, done long enough, become identity. You are not lost because you lack talent. You're lost because your days don't reflect who you want to become. Fix the day, and the direction fixes itself. There's another reason people feel lost that they don't like to talk about. Fear. Not fear of failure. Fear of judgment. In fear of being seen trying. Fear of being seen failing. Fear of not living up to expectations. Or worse, exceeding them and standing alone. Kobe lived with pressure every single day. Not just from the media, not just from fans, but from himself. Because when you commit to greatness, you raise the bar. And the higher the bar, the heavier the weight. Most people crack under that weight. They start comparing. They start questioning. They start shrinking. Kobe did the opposite. He understood that comparison is a distraction. The moment you start measuring your path against someone else's timeline, you lose focus on your own work. And focus was sacred to him. He didn't care who was ahead. He didn't care who was doubting him. Because doubt doesn't stop you. Attention to doubt does. Kobe trained his mind the same way he trained his body. He studied pressure. He welcomed criticism. He leaned into uncomfortable moments. Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he knew something powerful. Pressure reveals who you are when excuses disappear. When you feel lost, it's often because you're trying to protect yourself. Protect your image. Protect your comfort. Protect your ego. But growth demands exposure. You don't build confidence by hiding. You build it by surviving moments you thought would break you. Kobe missed shots. He failed publicly. He got criticized relentlessly. And instead of running from it, he used it. Every doubt became fuel. Every loss became data. He didn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That mindset changes everything. Because when you stop taking things personally, you start taking responsibility. Fear stops controlling you the moment you stop negotiating with it. You don't eliminate fear. You move forward with it. That's mental toughness. Not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to let doubt dictate your actions. If you're feeling lost, ask yourself honestly, am I avoiding the work? Or am I avoiding the feeling that comes with the work? Because on the other side of fear is clarity. On the other side of criticism is confidence. And on the other side of pressure is the version of you that you've been searching for. At some point, the question stops being, "Why am I lost?" and becomes, "What am I willing to live for?" Because direction doesn't come from goals alone. It comes from purpose. Kobe understood that basketball was never just basketball. It was the language he used to express discipline, curiosity, and obsession with improvement. When injuries took parts of his game away, he didn't lose himself. He evolved. Because purpose isn't tied to one role. It's tied to how you show up. Kobe talked often about legacy, not as fame, not as numbers, but as impact. Legacy is what remains when effort becomes habit and habit becomes character. That's why he never chased validation. He chased mastery. And mastery requires patience. If you feel lost, it might be because you're trying to rush meaning. You want answers now. You want certainty now. You want to know where all of this is going. But meaning is built forward and understood backward. Kobe didn't need every chapter figured out to commit to the work in front of him. He focused on the next rep, the next detail, the next opportunity to be better than yesterday. That's how a life gets shaped, not by giant moments, but by thousands of small intentional decisions that nobody applauds. And one day, you look back and realize you weren't lost at all. You were becoming. If you're still breathing, your story isn't finished. If you're still showing up, there's still something left to give. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be honest about the standard you're willing to live by. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs you. Fully committed, fully present, fully responsible. That was the heart of the Mamba mentality. Not basketball, not fame, but relentless self-development. So when you feel lost, don't panic. Go back to the work. Go back to the routine. Go back to the values you refuse to compromise. That's where clarity lives. And if you stay there long enough, day after day, rep after rep, you won't just find your way, you'll build it.